I'm very excited. We have a very special guest with us tonight. I'm really excited she's here. I've been watching Local 12 News, I don't even know how long, a long, long time. And Liz Bonis from Local 12 is here, and we're just thrilled she's here, and I would like to introduce her right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is an honor to be here. For those of you I don't know, my name is Liz Bonis, and I am the health and medical reporter for Channel 12. I've spent time with Good Morning Cincinnati and now anchor the weekend show there. So you notice they invited me to speak after you had dinner. That's okay, I'm good with that. To give you just a little bit of background, on a professional note, I am a registered dietitian and a personal trainer and spent 10 years working as a diabetes educator. And my graduate work is in public communications and journalism. And people thought that was a very odd combination when I kind of started working in both those fields. But I found that working in healthcare, I was saying a lot of the same stuff all day long, and that media really gave me sort of a larger way to share some of that information. So I feel very lucky that Channel 12 has continued to embrace that media beat and that many of you watch and let me share that. I spent about 10 years working mornings in radio, days in healthcare, and nights in television before somebody would give me a full-time job that would pay me enough to eat, and because I was a dietitian, eating was kind of important. On a personal note, I do have to tell you that my journey is a little different. I had the privilege of growing up in a very big family. I know many of you know about that. I am the youngest of 5, and the baby and the only girl, and I learned to eat like a boy. And one of the things I joke about is, I don't really like leftovers, and that's because we never had any. My brothers would have a full, plate table of food, and they would take a bite out of one piece of chicken and lick the other one so you couldn't have it. You can't make that stuff up. So I learned to kind of eat like that, and as a consequence, I grew wide before I grew high. And for some reason, the boys could eat all these foods and eat chicken wings at midnight and everything else, and I could not. So when I was in the 5th grade, I was actually so overweight that Daddy, who meant well with his little girl, promised me $100 if I would lose 10 pounds. And, I know that sounds cruel now, but he didn't mean to be cruel. He really thought that would be incentive. But what that did is that put me on my very first diet when I was 10 years old, and I chronically dieted for 10 years before I figured out I didn't really need to learn how to diet, I needed to learn how to eat. But more importantly in that journey, what I discovered is really why I'm here tonight, and that is I discovered that really what I needed to do is take care of me a little bit. And one of the reasons I was very excited about speaking to you is that you are a group of hundreds of volunteers. And one of the things about volunteers is they are great at taking care of everybody else. And so I am here tonight to give you just a little bit of permission to take care of you, which I know is easier said than done. And one of the great things about our field and our profession is that we get to tell stories. And along the way, I've had the chance to get to really kind of an intimate touch and taste of people's lives and share stories that taught me a little bit about taking care of you. And I want to take just a few minutes of your evening and share some of those stories with you to teach you a little bit about what it takes to take care of you. And I'm not sure where you are in this journey right now. It doesn't really matter to me. But I do want you to know that I think that probably in what you do every day and in the volunteering that you do, you encourage others. And I'm hoping that tonight this can be kind of just a little maybe restorative to you. I don't know how many of you are people of faith, but I have a little devotional that I read each morning when I'm running my 10K on the treadmill at 2 in the morning, and yes, I really do that. And I was reading something not too long ago about the 23rd Psalm, and I never realized that that is written really about a shepherd, and the shepherd talks about, he restoreth my soul. And if you know anything about sheep, apparently if a sheep gets away from a flock, it will run away, and if it falls down, it cannot get up by itself. So that's why a shepherd will have to leave the flock, go find the sheep, flip it over and rub on it and love on it and kind of restore it back to good health. And if not, it literally will be on its back and it will die. And I never realized that that was the whole thing about restoring your soul. So I hope that tonight is just a little restorative for you, because sometimes I think we all need to be encouraged when we're the people that are giving. And we all know that when we're givers, we meet a lot of takers, don't we? They just kind of suck you dry all day. Yeah, we know all about those. So that said, when you say to me, Liz, how do you really take care of you? I think the very first thing that we ask people to do, and I look at it from a point where I want to make, physical and emotional and health changes, is that you have to be really, really practical when you're going to take care of you. I don't know where you are in this journey of life, but I remember that I got a very strong lesson from a gentleman that was interviewed on one of our news programs about how you learn to be practical. And he was actually on a talk show because he was about to meet his daughter, who he had in Vietnam, who he had never met before. And she was grown now, and he was older. And I have to tell you that I was looking at this guy not thinking that he was, as we say in our business, probably the sharpest tool in the shed. He wasn't well groomed, he didn't have a lot of teeth, he was just kind of not, very well spoken. And the host kind of said to him, this is quite a journey. You're about to meet a daughter that you've never met before. And I'm wondering how you're ever going to pick up the pieces from this one. That's quite a life changer. And that man, who I thought wasn't very bright, looked right at that host and he said, you know what? I'm going to pick up the pieces one at a time. And one of the things I've learned, and you've probably seen it on TV, is we all want instant gratification. We want things to happen overnight. We want to lose weight and feel great and take a pill and not work at it. And it's really interesting to me when I look at that journey because most of success isn't really like that. It's slowly picking up the pieces one at a time. And so I would encourage you, wherever you are, to just start with one piece at a time, and you'll know what that piece is. The second thing, though, I think it really takes if you're going to take care of you is this little thing that I call assertiveness. And I will tell you that when you're a person that takes care of everybody else, you're always like you put everyone else's needs first, and you're never all that important. And very on, as a medical reporter, I had a chance to cover a story, and a woman who taught me a lot about this. And it was in a surprising way, but I was covering a story when they first started coming out with these laser hair removals. They're a little more common now, but at the time, they were basically the stuff where you put this like black stuff all up on your legs and wherever you wanted to get rid of the hair. And then you would have to blast the leg with this light beam. It would flash, all the way down it. And so I was following this woman who over about 8 weeks was going to get rid of all the hair on her legs. And it was really an interesting journey because, after a while, every woman thinks about, hey, I want to get rid of all this, I don't have to shave again. So we got to the end of this process, she's got these beautiful smooth legs, and I said, okay, to the plastic surgeon's office, I said, how much does this cost? And he said it cost $4,000 a leg. And I was like, I want your husband. I remember thinking, $4,000 a leg? That will buy a lot of razors and a lot of shaving cream. And you know what? She looked me straight in the eye and she said something I've never forgotten. She said, Liz, you know what? She said, I think we're worth it. Ooh, suck the wind out of me. And I don't know if you're really worth $8,000 for your legs, okay? I'll say that. But I do think that she had figured out something that we often as volunteers and as moms and as dads and as busy people don't think, and that is that you are worth taking care of every day. You are the best asset that you have. And if you are not well, and you are not happy and you are not healthy, you cannot take care of anyone else. And you know what? Your job is to get up every day and remember that you are worth it. And my job is to share stories, I hope, that remind you that you are worth it, that you are beings created and you are fearfully and wonderfully made in the eyes of God, and you are something that is really, really special and you are worth taking care of. And I think sometimes we're just not allowed to say that. We are kind of taught that's not acceptable. And she taught me, you know what, Liz, we're worth it, whether it's $8,000 for your legs or something else. I think the third thing that I've learned about really taking care of you is probably what many of you know in this room. I've just had a brief chance to talk to some of the wonderful people at our table, and they said, we have this great city of people and so much in it and so much to do, and we love Hamilton, we love to show it off. And I said, okay, come back and tell me your stories and we'll get to share them. But what you figured out is that you have great resources, and none of us really operate very well without resources. We want to be our own islands, and believe me, when you grow up with 4 older brothers, you're going to be like Little Miss Independence, My mom would always tell me that I was the stubborn one, I had really long hair because she made the boys all cut it off, and one day I decided at like age 5 with my waist-long hair that I was going to wash my own hair. So I come in, she came into the bathroom, And I was washing my hair under the tub in ice cold water. I didn't even know how to turn on the warm water. But it didn't matter, you know, we're just these things that we're stubborn and we want to take care of ourselves and we don't need anybody else. But I had a chance when I was just covering probably my first 2 or 3 years of medical news, a really good story about breast cancer, to learn a little bit more about using your resources. And I'd been given an out-of-town assignment. I was working in another market at the time, and I was asked to go to the Roswell Park Cancer Center. And I was interviewing a gentleman who had some new diagnostic materials for basically looking and discovering breast cancer. And he was able, with that, to find cancers that quite often other people didn't. And I said to him, I said, you know, when I look at your job, I cannot imagine anything more discouraging than telling people that you have breast cancer. I mean, it's just, I couldn't imagine having to do that in a day. And he looked at me and he said, you know what, Liz? He said, there is more love in a cancer center than there is anywhere else in the world. And I realized at that moment that probably what you do in this room, there's a whole lot of love. That there are people around you that will support you. He drew from his patients. He wasn't expecting his patients to all get all the answers from him. But you don't even realize that sometimes you're in a place and you're surrounded by love and you don't even know it. And those are the people that really make a difference in your life. And one of the things we learn in news is that I can tell no story without a good person that I can talk about. You know, people often say, do a story on osteoporosis, do a story on breast cancer. And I say, you know, we don't do issues, we do people. And if you find a good person, I will tell that story. And those are the people that you draw strength from. They just learn amazing things about life, and somehow there must be this grace that you're given when you need it. And I realized at that moment that he had discovered how to use resources that I didn't even know existed. When it comes to taking care of you, you also know that I have to get on this little thing called exercise and nutrition. And it's not your favorite thing, I know, so bear with me here, okay? In this journey to discover that I didn't need to learn how to diet, I needed to learn how to eat. After going on and off every diet, we all know we've done it, you know, for some reason we know the second you say you cannot have something, it sits in the refrigerator and calls your name. Come and eat me. I am the chocolate cake that you left on the table tonight. And when you go home, you'll be thinking about me. See, I can't make this stuff up, I really know it. So as a dietitian, you get this kind of interesting training, but some of the best training that I had a chance to participate in was with a group that, a woman by the name of Janine Roth. Some of you may be familiar with her books, but she's written a number of books, and one of them is called Breaking Free from Overeating. And she actually has this concept that when you are forbidding foods, that there's a psychological component to eating. And the more you restrict, the more your body will want it. And she uses the examples of, for example, childhood obesity. And she says, you know, kids that are overweight often become overweight adults. And we know that there's some very strong psychological component to you saying you cannot have a food. And she was sharing the story of a mother who had a little 8-year-old girl, and she said, this little 8-year-old girl was very overweight, so she'd taken her to a counselor, and she said, you know, I'm kind of struggling because I will buy something like a bag of peanut M&Ms and take it home, and she will eat the entire bag in one sitting. Now, I don't think that's all that strange. I thought that was one serving when I was growing up. But the therapist said to the mother, okay, I get that. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a pillowcase, and I want you to fill it up with peanut M&Ms. And I want you to give it to this little girl, and I want you to let her carry it around with her everywhere she goes. And I want you to let her eat them non-stop. And the mother thought, I must be crazy, I'm paying you money. But she did it. She took it, she got the pillowcase full of peanut M&Ms, she filled it up, and the little girl, when she gave it to him, started to eat those peanut M&Ms non-stop. And every time it got low, she put a few more bags in. And all of a sudden she noticed after about 10 days that when she went into the room where the little girl was, the pillowcase was in the corner. And when she wanted them, she would go and get them. And her point was never underestimate the power of a forbidden food. So when you really look at the way you eat when you want to take care of yourself, there's actually something newer on the market now called the snob diet. And if you look at people who really eat well and don't gain weight, they eat less of what they want. And you know, we like to blame certain foods, but we don't really have a food problem in America. We have a portion problem. And I know that because, you know, as I said, I would have contests with my brothers where we'd come home from school and we would try to see, you know, cereal was our snack and Mom would let us have cereal. So we would try to see who could eat the entire box. And I would win. I mean, I thought that was great. And then, like, I became a dietitian and I realized, anybody know what a serving size of cereal is? Yeah, it's like half a cup. This is a serving size of cereal. Can you see how much white is around that bowl? This is going to haunt you tomorrow morning when you get up. Do you have any idea what a serving size of pasta is? Yeah, a serving size of pasta is half a cup. Anybody been to Buca di Beppo? They serve you no fewer than 12 servings of these in a meal. We don't have a food problem, we have a portion problem. Do you know what a serving size of peanuts is? It is 6 to 8 peanuts. When I meet someone who actually eats 6 to 8 peanuts, I will introduce myself. Hello, my name is Liz Bonus. You're the first person I've ever met to actually eat 6 to 8 peanuts. We eat the entire can. It's like, this is my can, you go get your own. Or the entire bag in the ballpark. But you get my point. My favorite is, I have a little teeny 3-ounce steak here. Do you remember the lady that did like the Where's the Beef? Yeah, this would be it. This is actually a serving size of meat. And if anyone ever served it to you, you'd be insulted. And you know, they realize that if you think about it, you're born really not to overeat. You know, a baby will turn its head when it's full. Do you ever see an adult do that? No, a kid will take a bite of a cookie and go play. We never do that. One of my favorite things that we had at home, because it was probably cheap and inexpensive, is Mom would make popcorn. And we would make a garbage bag full of popcorn. We would eat the whole thing on a Sunday night. You know, we'd have people over after church because, you know, we're good Christians, no food, no fellowship. This is a serving size of popcorn. And when you go to the movies in those buckets, it's 16 servings of this. And, you know, there's something like that's just easier than, you know, to say, I will have this food, and this is a good food, and this is a bad food. There are no good or bad foods. There are good or bad quantities of food. And chances are, Mom, who loved you, taught you what a quantity was, because she grew up in the Depression. Elizabeth, people are starving in China. And we would all go, Mom, name one. Or, you know, they'll always say, put it in an envelope and mail it to them. You know, when you have brothers, they do those kind of things, yes. But my point is that Mom probably taught you what a serving size is. The number one thing I used to hear in my nutrition practice is my mother always told me I had to clean my plate. And once you're a member of the Clean Your Plate Club, you're a member of the Clean Your Plate Club for life. And to this day, she'll come to my house. I have to go through after she leaves and throw out a bunch of stuff because I got half sandwiches and, you know, little bites of bread and she cannot throw food out. She said, Elizabeth, you don't know what it was to grow up when you didn't have enough to eat. And I do understand that. And so all I'm saying is that when you really look at a practical guide to good eating, there really isn't a food that you should avoid. And even from a health perspective, while we do promote a plant-based diet and less meat, we don't for a second think that you should really restrict or avoid any food. And that's because we know that in moderation, we can usually find something good to say about that food. And you know, I followed the research for years, and it's so interesting because eventually they come back around. Like today there was a soda pop study that came out that said regular soda pop, you know, people that drink that, they have more diabetes. And you go, wow, I'm waiting for the study next that water is wet. Like anyone didn't know that. And you know, we weren't meant to have soda pop that has 9 to 12 teaspoons of sugar in every can. But we don't have those little cans that you got when it was a big treat to go to Woolworths, you know? We now have the big gulp. And it's, you know, 32 ounces. And it's quite often as many as 64 teaspoons of sugar, if you just look at a couple per ounce. Sometimes even more than that. That's like half a bag of sugar. You would never just probably pour that into your own drink and measure it out that way. But we don't even think about that because we really have gotten to this supersizing of America. So when you're looking at nutrition, that's kind of the way you have to go. But my real thing is that one of the things that we do most of the time throughout the day is that we are backwards eaters. So rather than, you know, they used to always say breakfast like a king and lunch like a queen and dinner like a pauper. Well, that was when we worked on farms all day. Now we just sit all day, especially at our computer. And there is some evidence that when you are sitting at a computer, your metabolic rate is lower than when you are sleeping. You know that little trance-like state? You can almost feel your body go into it. So there's been some evidence now that even if you are an exerciser and you get your 1 hour workout, that throughout the rest of the day, if you don't get up and just about move every hour, the people who exercise and then sit the other 7 hours still don't live as long as people who do at least get up and move. And really, to have a decent fitness program, it has to have 3 components. It actually has to have that thing, you know, that we all hate, which is getting on the treadmill, that gets your heart rate up. Now, I know you're all like, I don't need to do that. I run around, I exercise, I'm busy all day. Housework, running around all day doesn't exercise you, it tires you. And in truth, to actually burn calories from this eating smaller meals throughout the day, you have to get your heart rate up, and you have to keep it there for a minimum of 20 minutes before you start to burn calories from stored fat. And you're like, you have no idea what I'm talking about right now. So what I want you to do is I want you to reach up in your neck and I want you to find your pulse. And if you don't have one, there's probably another seminar you might want to attend. I am going to ask you to silently start counting when I say go, and I'm going to ask you to stop counting when I say stop. Ready? Go. Stop. How many times do you feel a beat? 5, 6, 7, 10. Good. What you just did is you took your pulse for 6 seconds and you add a 0. So if it was 6 times, it's beating 60. If it was 7 times, it's beating 70. If it was 10 times, it's beating 100. You have to get that almost double. And I'm just using that as a random amount. But you have to get that almost double before you start to burn calories from stored fat. So you're walking around, you're marching a little bit, you'll find maybe you get it up to 7 or 8 in 6 seconds. Well, you have to get it up to, let's just say for random sake, it was just 8. You got to get it up to probably closer to 16 and keep it there for 20 minutes before you start to get rid of the stored stuff. I mean, any exercise will get rid of a little bit, but I want to get rid of what's here, I want to get rid of what's here, and you know the biggest thing, there's a study coming out Monday, it's in Harvard, I'm not supposed to tell you this yet, but the plastic surgery just did a new study, and they found out the #1 plastic surgery right now for women is? No, it's back of the arm flab that we're all getting rid of. They said that, like, you know, we're all looking at the arms and they could name who were the top 3 people. We looked at their arms and all the rest, and we all want to get rid of this. My brothers would climb up on grandma's lap, you know, do this. Yeah. So my point is that you have to get rid of the stored stuff or these things never go away. So if you are running around all day and your heart rate is getting up a little bit, but it's not staying there for 20 minutes. So say when you're sitting, it's 8 times. You want to get up to 16 times, and you want to keep it there for 20 minutes before you'll start to burn from the stored stuff. That's how you can actually burn the calories and get your metabolic rate going. And what that does is that means when your metabolic rate is going and you're working that off, it will stay elevated, not at the same rate, but in the next 24 hours, you're actually burning more calories when you're at rest, when you're sitting around doing nothing, if you get your heart rate up there and you keep it there. And that makes a big difference. Sitting around and burning more calories is the way we want to go. Yes, that's the way it works. Second thing, though, you got to have, you know, this has to do with arm flab and everything else, is have a really good fitness program. You actually got to have some flexibility. We have a lot of people that get injured because they can't, you know, reach up and grab something or pick something up. So you have to do even little bits of stretches. Most people, literally right now, by the time they get to this stage, can't even, like, you know, do toe touches like we used to do when we were kids. You notice they're just really flexible. But the third thing is something we call body resistance. And we know that people who get these 3 things will literally be able to take a muscle and make it smaller. It will take up less space. So in other words, you can weigh 300 pounds and wear a size 3. It doesn't matter if what your weight is. A fit muscle takes up less space than an unfit muscle. And that basically means that you've got to use those other muscles. We all do our walking or whatever, but we don't bother to burn calories or anything like that. Well, since I work in TV, they did this great study that found that if you just did a few things on the 2-minute commercials, throughout the 2-minute commercials, just in a couple hours of programming, you could actually tone and firm and use some of that body resistance. So I need everybody up. You thought you were just going to enjoy your dinner and just getting comfy. And I need a volunteer to just hold my microphone here for 1 second. Gentlemen, come right here. You just happen to be close. Come here. What I'm going to ask you to do, no, The rest of you guys are going to do this with me. Would you just hold this for 1 minute so that I can show you what to do? All right, I want both arms out to the side. I want you to make really tight little fists. And I want you to make the tiniest circles forward that you can. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tiny, tiny. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Reverse. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Forward. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Reverse. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Toward the ceiling. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Toward the floor. 2, 3, 4. Oh, you're feeling it now, aren't you? All right, one more time. Those little tiny circles forward. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Reverse. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Forward. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Reverse. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, they're feeling it now. Let those go now. Before you sit down, the next one is you're going to sit right above your chair for just a second there. You can't actually sit. You just got the arms. Now we're getting the legs. Try that. How long can you hold that? How we doing? Oh, drop, 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 drop. Oh my God, you get my point. But those are little things. You can have a seat. Those are little things we found that you can do. It's really hard to do that, isn't it? Just sit before you sit. Most of us plop right into the chair. Thank you very much, by the way. I'm just bringing up the point that those little things that you do, you really feel that in your arms and your shoulders, don't you? Well, you have to use each little area of your body like that to get body resistance. And if you do aerobics and stretching and body resistance, that's what it takes to take care of you. And if you're not getting any one of those, and I don't want to sound like I'm your professional nag here, but any one of those you're missing is not really giving your body everything that it needs. And again, that fit muscle takes up less space. So pretty soon you're wearing a smaller size regardless of what you weigh or not. You guys can't relate to that, we girls can. So you get the point that you've got to have some kind of fitness. You've got to have a practical eating plan with little bits. And because I really think we are kind of physical, emotional, and spiritual beings, I think when this is all said and done, and I know again volunteers are great taking care of everybody else, my final thing to say to you is just to share that I think there's also an element when it comes to taking care of you that is about what I call trust. That in any given day, one of the things you see in news is how quickly the universe can change, how quickly something can come into your life. And you know, you look at this, some of the bombing victims we saw, the one girl who was the ballroom dancer, and she's missing both legs, and she says, I'm going to dance again. How quickly your life can change. And I realize that some of that is about trusting that someone else is running the show. The God or whoever you believe in actually is running the universe. And one of the best stories I ever saw to illustrate that, I don't know how many of you remember, but years ago there was a story that many of the networks covered about the Iowa septuplets. And there was a mom who was about to have, these 7 babies. And she only gave one interview at the time, and she talked to ABC News' religion reporter at the time. And the reporter said to her, a couple of things. She said, I'm kind of surprised you chose to have these babies. She was invited to do what they call selective reduction, and she said, no, I'm going to, even though I know some of them are going to be have cerebral palsy and a few other problems, I'm going to have these babies, and I'm going to do everything I can to raise them well. And she said, how did you make that decision? And how do you get through a day now? And she said, on a bad day, I have 7 crying babies. And on a good day, I have 7 smiles. But she said, I get up every day, and I remember that nothing is going to happen in this day that God does not already know about. And I thought, boy, that's a whole lot of wisdom from a young mom. Nothing is going to happen in this day that God does not already know about. I hope that in this journey, as you take care of others and you work as a volunteer, you will be practical, you will pick up the pieces one at a time, you will be assertive and remember that you are worth it, you will use the resources around you, you will find some time to exercise because it's important for you, you will think of my little horrible food models when you are working on your nutritional plan to help you eat better and feel better, and you will remember to trust. If you look at the first letters of each of those, be practical, be assertive, know your resources, exercise, get some good nutrition, and trust. What does it spell? P-A-R-E-N-T. I hope that you will be a parent to yourself sometimes. And in the end, on those really rough days when you feel like you can't anymore, just remember There is a God who is running the universe, and he knows your name. If you like me, my name is Liz Bonus, and if you don't, I'm Nancy Grace. Thank you for having me. Well, I know why everybody loves Hamilton now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Liz. Give her another round of applause. Okay, I think I need to get really busy. I was very motivated by that. But we have a little something for Liz for coming tonight. Have a little gift for you, which includes healthy Hamilton water and award-winning Hamilton water. So there you go. And a couple other little goodies are in there too. So we so appreciate you.
And it tastes better from the bottle.
There you go.
It's like ice cream on the cone.
I would like to take this time to recognize some of our elected and city officials. So if you could stand when I call your name. Of course, you all met Mayor Pat Moeller. Vice Mayor Carla Fear. Robert Brown, one of our other city council members. Archie Johnson, who could not be with us tonight. Kathy Klink. Tim Knapp. And Rob Weil, who also, he could not be here either. So thank you all to all of you for your support of the volunteer program. And then next I'd like to acknowledge Dan Gademeyer. He's our municipal court judge. And then some of our city officials. Joshua Smith, our city manager, who could not be here either. He hated and he sends his regrets and wanted me to thank all the volunteers. So Hillary Stevenson, our deputy city manager. And I'm not sure Hillary can make it tonight. Tim Wordman, our deputy city manager. Manju Bhargava, our acting IT director. Doug Childs, our acting director of underground utilities. Doug is here. Steve Dawson, our fire chief. Rich Engel is our director of public works. Kay Farrar, our health commissioner and nursing administrator. Jody Gunnarsson, our director of economic development. He could not be here either. Nadine Hill, civil service and personnel director. Tony Pichard, our director of electric. Tony's back in the back. Anna Ramanathan, acting finance director. Bud Sharp, director of community development. Scott Scramese, our police chief. Colleen Taylor is here, our law director. And Crystal Dansbury is here, our clerk of council. So many thanks to all of you for your support of the volunteer program. So now at this time, we're going to talk about our nominees. Okay, we're going to start with our Youth Service Award. The Youth Service Award is presented to a youth 18 years of age or younger who gives generously of his or her time to the betterment of our community. This youth must have attended a local area school while the service was performed. The service must have been given directly to the City of Hamilton or to another individual, group, or organization within the city. All service must have been given in a volunteer capacity. Projects for schools, organizations, and other groups are acceptable. Our first nominee is Tyler Bridge. Tyler has been volunteering for the City of Hamilton for about a year now. He has created marketing videos to help promote Hamilton. He recently brought a project to the City of Sculpture Board called Paint, partnering with artists in new turfs. As a result of this, a call to artists will go out to bring artwork to the walls of our underpass. He has done press releases, proclamations, and important research for the city. He was pivotal in raising $4,000 in cash and in-kind services for our Hamilton Cornhole Cup last year. He has also worked with the Miami Conservancy District and other entities to gather costs for the possible low-level dam modifications. He's organized Yellow Ribbon Campaign, edited articles for the online school newspaper, and completed 200 plus service hours in 2 years for various projects. Tyler, please come up and accept your nomination. We have certificates for all of our nominees. So what I will do is read all the nominees, and then we'll announce the award recipients later. Thank you, Tyler, for all that you do. Okay. Our next nominee is Shelby Bushnell. Shelby is a sophomore at Hamilton High School. She began volunteering in 9th grade and has volunteered for many Hamilton events. She's worked at River Days, Operation Pumpkin, and Ice Fest. She's volunteered at Berkeley Square assisting the elderly. She's raised money and collected presents for a child in need during Christmas through the Salvation Army Angel Tree program. Shelby's also volunteered for Hamilton Little Joe's, coaching children. She's worked for Relay for Life, Crayons to Computers, and the Ronald McDonald House. So please welcome Shelby Bushnell. Okay, now when I was this age, I volunteered, I was a candy striper at Fort Hamilton Hospital. That's all I did. So these young people now just totally amaze me. They're doing so many things. So thank you, Shelby. Our next nominee is Chad McLean. Chad is president of the Hamilton High Astro Service Organization. Chad is always one of the first to sign up for volunteer opportunities and encourages others to do the same. Chad has driven students to volunteer assignments. He's volunteered at the German Village Christmas Walk, has led activities in the kids area during Hamilton's Operation Pumpkin. He's served in food in the soup kitchen at Millville Church of God. He's helped park cars at Pyramid Hill during the art event. He has participated in the Salvation Army Angel Tree by helping collect money. He passed out information at Ice Fest. Chad is a member of the Youth Philanthropy Committee, serves with his church youth group, and has volunteered for Head Start. Chad, could you please come and accept your nomination? Thank you, Chad. Our next nominee is Jasmine Mitchell. Jasmine has served the community of Hamilton by volunteering for the Wheel and Heel event we had last year, Operation Pumpkin, and Ice Fest. She also volunteered at Berkeley Square. She's helped the community by providing a positive attitude and a willingness to help others. She's also helped to orchestrate a talent show in which $270 was raised for Operation Christmas Child. She has volunteered at Crayons to Computers, the Y, the Ronald McDonald House. She's always willing and ready to assist others. Jasmine, could you please come forward? Thank you, Jasmine, for all you do. Our next student nomination is David Pitts. David served the community of Hamilton by volunteering for the Wheel and Heel Duathlon and at Berkeley Square. David has also volunteers every Thursday at a local food pantry in which he helps customers and organizes the food products. In essence, he has helped the community by providing a positive attitude and the willingness to help others. He has helped orchestrate a talent show in which $270 was raised for Operation Christmas Child. He's also volunteered at Crayons to Computers. So, David, would you come forward and accept your reward certificate? Maybe David didn't make it tonight. Okay, well, we will make sure that David gets that. So, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to announce our two nominees for Volunteer of the Year. So, two amazing and wonderful volunteers, as everyone in this room is. Our first nominee for Volunteer of the Year is Joel Fink. Joel can be found working with organizations, individuals, and causes to address improvement in our community. He's volunteered tirelessly to make the Sense of Place initiative successful. The first neighborhood that was addressed was Lindenwold. Out of these meetings, protocol was formed. People reaching out to others celebrate our Lindenwold. He helped establish meeting agendas and connect with people who could help and people who were instrumental in keeping this initiative going. He's dedicated to the causes he champions and is a pleasure to work with. He was a big help with the Hamilton Meets Hamilton portion of the Hamilton Cornhole Cup. He's a member of the Vision Commission where he chairs the Green Committee. His efforts resulted in a rain garden at Crawford Woods, and these are just a few of the many things that Joel does. Joel, could you come forward and get your certificate? Thank you for all you do, Joel. Okay, our next nominee is Judy Stitzinger. Judy is also another amazing volunteer. She spends countless hours at the Hamilton Welcome Center, working at the information desk, greeting customers, and selling City of Hamilton merchandise. She's currently the president of the Hamilton Visitors Bureau. She's served on many committees and boards throughout Hamilton. She's also on the Heritage Hall Board. She's a member of the Hamilton Fairfield Symphony Orchestra Guild. She recently worked with Dave Ballou to put together a new brochure for the City of Hamilton called Hamilton Is. This brochure came out of the Accent Hamilton Committee. She also reads scholarships for the Hamilton Community Foundation and has served Food for Earth Day, helped with the Sense of Place Committee, and goes the extra mile to volunteer and promote Hamilton. Judy, could you come forward and get your certificate? I just want to say again, we thank each and every one of you. We're just so glad to have all these wonderful volunteers in Hamilton. Very thankful. So, okay. Well, now I'm going to announce the award recipients. So, for the Youth Service Award, our award recipient is Tyler Bridge. Would you like to say?
Oh my goodness, they gave me a microphone. This could be bad. Well, I'm not Liz Bonus, and I'm sure I am not Nancy Grace, but I'm Tyler Bridge, and I'm running for President of the United States. Thank you. Hey, I've always wanted to say that, and Mr. Knapp knows that I'm not going to take his council seat. It all started when I sat down at my grandmother's table in her dining room, and I said, Grandma, I'm going to write Mayor-elect Pat Moeller a letter as a 15-year-old and say, hey, you know what? You can bring this city back. You can bring it back from what it was to what it is today to what it can be in the future. You know, when you walked in here today, you saw the pictures outside there. You saw the pictures that represent what Hamilton used to be. Well, that reminded me of where I came from. See, like so many of you, my ancestors walked here and came here with nothing. Came here with nothing from the coal mines of Kentucky to work in Hamilton, Ohio, because they believed in it. They believed that they could help build this city. They believed that they could live the American dream. Well, I wrote that letter at my grandmother's house, and I said I wanted to be an intern. So I began to work in the Department of Economic Development about last year ago. And the first thing they said to me when I walked up to the 7th floor of One Renaissance Center was, son, by the end of this, you will hate government so much you will never want to participate in it again, and we'll have you back in the private sector. Well, regardless of what they said to me, I can say today that, well, I'm still here. Thank you. You know, I'll always believe that this is where I started, that the blood that runs through my veins pulses because of a little town in the Midwest called Hamilton, Ohio. But I hope that you can know that this young man from the Midwest, this young man who sat down at his grandmother's table and said, I want to help Hamilton, Ohio, you can know that he won't just have to believe in the American dream, but because of you, because of Hamilton, because of who we are as a city, I can say that I won't just believe in the American dream, I can live it. Thank you so much, God bless you, and rebuild this city.
Okay, when I grow up, I want to be Tyler Bridge. I don't think he'll be running for president one day. No. He's amazing. So all of our volunteers are amazing. All of our nominees are great. So, and now I wanted to announce the award recipient for our Volunteer of the Year, and that is Judy Stitzinger.
I don't think I've ever been at a loss for words, and most of you know that. What I can say is Sherry Armstead has some magnets in her store, and one of them says, and I'll paraphrase it, that she knows there's a God because she put her in Hamilton, Ohio. And as many of you know, I've gone through some difficult times in my life, and I said that God knew I should be here, that my life should be here because I was going to need the support and love of a community, and I've gotten that here in Hamilton. And my kids are here. The schools were wonderful, and going back to work was my salvation. And volunteering and being part of this community has been what has made life, besides my family, a very worthwhile thing. And I really appreciate Karen and what she's done, and Jerry and Barb and all the others. But thank you so much.
Okay, thank you to everyone. I just want to take a few moments to do some special thanks. All of you, of course, who serve our community, our mayor, city council, and city officials. Many thanks to the Courtyard by Marriott here, TV Hamilton, Reverend Dr. John Lewis, Jim Hall, who's taking pictures tonight, my coworker Liz, who did the brochures. Oh, she left. So anyway, Liz from Channel Local 12 News, she was amazing. And I have to tell you, I sent the awards to some of my colleagues around Cincinnati and Butler County. So this is no easy task for anybody to judge these awards. It's very difficult because all the nominees are amazing. So the list of people here that are in your program: Rhonda Brown, Mary Gray, Jill Grissom, Jennifer Markham, Dave McClain, Diane McKitchen, Lauren Young. Those are all colleagues of mine and volunteer managers all over Cincinnati and Butler County. And I truly appreciate them taking the time to judge our awards. The other people I'd like to thank are my coworkers. Stacy was up here tonight helping with the awards. Peggy Bangy, who couldn't be here tonight. Karen Bowling, Liz Colombo, and of course Jody, our boss, Anthony Seppi. I could not do what I do without the help of a lot of people, and I get by with a lot of help from my friends. So anyway, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight, and look forward to again next year, and look forward to working with all of you in the volunteer community. So thank you very much.
Let us stand for the benediction. And I think we